Hello, everyone. My name is Janai Thornton, and I'm so excited that you are here for another Thank Me Later episode of Real Life. And so Real Life, I have to admit, is one of my favorite series in the Thank Me Later community, because this is when we give you the information and everything you need to navigate real life situations. So it is January. I know y'all are focused on your goals and your big dreams. And we said, you know what? This month, we wanted to start off with something very aspirational. And so today we are talking to Shan'Tell Boyce. Thank you for being here. Have Ani Anderson, who's part of the Thank Me Later team.
Good morning.
Good. Hey, everybody. But this is how to turn your stay-at-home mom dream into a reality. And I know a lot of people are like, that's for real? Like, really? I could do that? Shan'Tell is here to let us know how that actually happens. So again, thank you for being here with us. And just to kind of set the tone so people have an idea, 1 in 5 families, there's one person in the household that's staying home. And I guess that could be reflective of mom or dads now, because it's just as popular. It's becoming more popular with fathers. And on average, families are spending a little over $10,000 a year in childcare, which is someone who has adult children. I am traumatized to hear that number. I'm like, oh my God, that is crazy. But Shan'Tell, you're here to guide us through this real life situation, because I want our Thank Me Later community to know not only that it's possible, but how to actually do it. So we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
Let's
go.
So I just wanted to kind of start off with, tell us a little bit about you, because we're curious, just, for someone who's been able to accomplish this. Like, I'd love to know a little bit about your professional background and, who you are.
So my background is I was previously a business analyst, which I usually say in my former life. I worked in higher education for almost 10 years, and my degree is in management information systems, and I have my master's in management.
And so I know you live in Atlanta. We're broadcasting from Atlanta. So are you a native Atlanta?
I'm sorry. I'm a native Augustan.
Okay.
Home of the Masters.
Okay.
My mother still lives down the street from the Masters. I have to pass it.
And so tell us, so were you, again, that little girl who always had this dream or vision of staying at home and being married and raising your kids? Was that kind of normal for your family?
For my family, yes. For me, no. I have a great aunt who just passed last October who had never worked a day in her life. I have my aunt, my mom's baby sister, who's been a stay-at-home wife because she doesn't have any kids, so she raised me like I was her own. So I was walked to school every day, picked up every day, had snack waiting between one of those two. My family was a close-knit family, so someone always raised us at home. We never went to daycare. We never went to other people's houses, things like that. So, but my mom was a single mom, so in my household, it wasn't that way. But in my family, my husband and I recently talked about this, and my cousins, we talk about it all the time, that we don't know what it's like to go to daycare or for someone else to raise us, because that wasn't our reality. We always had a cousin who didn't work, or aunt, great aunt, or someone to take care of us.
The village.
Yes.
And so what was your mindset then? So if you worked, is it that you had children first and you had the plan? This was your plan right from the beginning, that you were going to be a stay-at-home mom?
No. So children were not in the plan.
At all?
At all.
Okay.
Keep it real. Let's go.
Actually, my husband and I, we joke about this all the time as well. Literally, we eloped in Jamaica. And the night before we eloped, we sat at a table and had honest conversations.
Right.
Like, are you okay not having kids?
Wow.
Yes. If not, we can turn this into a real vacation.
Right.
And we can go from there.
Right.
So it was not in the cards. Lo and behold, we went to Jamaica for our 1-year anniversary. Unbeknownst to me, I'm climbing Dunn's Fall River, and I am already pregnant, but did not know it until till I was 4 months pregnant.
Wow.
So we go back and look at the pictures all the time and said, that was an adventure. So no, staying at home was never in the cards. Having kids was never in the cards. So When my son was born, I continued to work, but putting him in daycare, my mom was not into that. So he actually ended up going to home daycare. By the time he was 3, I was pregnant again, which meant 2 daycare bills.
Right.
And with my son, because I worked downtown, North Avenue area, my husband worked on a separate side of town, but we live in the south side of town. We was always late. We were late picking him up sometimes. Depending on other people, hey, so we wouldn't pay.
You know how that feels. I heard that mommy response right
Girl,
there.
my mom used to leave me at school all the time. She would be late, and she was like, "I'm so sorry."
Right.
Or can you asking a neighbor, hey, can you just, so we didn't have to pay the late $5 per minute late fee, can you just go pick him up and I'll just come and get him? So
was that your tipping point though?
Not with the first child, but
Okay.
by the time the second child came, it was like,
This is enough.
okay, no, we need to seek other alternatives.
So was Abby? So Abigail is the youngest.
Yes, she is.
So was Abigail already? Did she go to daycare, or did you decide before she even was born we're gonna have a different?
No. So Evan was at home care. We put him in a private pre-K program, and Abigail took his spot at the home daycare.
Okay.
But I was still on maternity leave. I took an extended month, so she didn't go back till she was almost 4 months. But just like with daycare, they want their money up front. Since the $10,000, so I spent maybe $1,500 for both of them to have somewhere to go before returning back to work in August.
And so tell everybody, and I know all you moms know this, but most of the time there isn't paid leave when you're on maternity leave. That's FMLA. That keeps your job, but you are not getting paid unless you have a whole bunch of vacation or something.
Correct.
So you're paying $1,500 for 2. You haven't even returned to work.
Haven't returned to work.
Which means you're not getting a check like you were before, maybe a full check. In
not
some
a
cases.
full check.
So you got the disability.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Right.
I only got 60%.
Mm-hmm.
Both of the kids had to pay for them. Still had to pay for insurance to have insurance. And I went back to work. And I worked downtown, had to pay for parking.
Right.
So all the expenses that you would normally have just for the kids and just to function is what I was responsible for before going back. Prior to having Abigail, I got a promotion, and they say you're going to have this X amount as an increase. So when that didn't happen, they was like, oh, we'll talk about it in 6 months. Well, I knew I was pregnant. But they didn't know I was pregnant because I was a Black female in a STEM field with older white men. And so I didn't tell them that I was pregnant. My manager, who was he was a not middle-aged, late 40s, middle 40s gentleman. And I didn't tell him I was pregnant. I just said, okay, we'll revisit it in 6 months. Well, my 6 months was right before it was time for me to go on maternity leave. So we had the conversation, but in the midst of me having Abigail, he quit. So when I came back to work and it was time to have these discussions, not only was I taking on his position, I took on half of another position. And they was like, oh, by the way, we're not going to pay you for this. And I was like, well, what happened to the money I was supposed to get when I got the promotion? They was like, we'll get back to you. So that's when my wheels started turning. It was like, okay, I've already put out over $2,000-$3,000 just to be here,
and you're not getting paid
and
any
I'm not
extra.
getting paid.
Yeah. Sounds like it's an opportunity to make a transition at that point.
Right. So
Right.
that's how it came about. It wasn't never in the plans.
Right.
Typically, that's how it happens.
And then let's talk about that conversation with your husband. Was it your idea? Was it his idea? Is it you all kind of came on the same page together that this was possible, that you all could do this?
So I've always been, I'm not cheap, but
Frugal.
Sounds like somebody I'm married to. No names, David Thornton.
So, when I had my first son and the sticker shock of daycare came,
Right.
I had just bought my first car ever. I had the
Wow.
same car that my aunt, who I said raised me like a child. I rode that car until if it
wheels
broke,
fall
I just
out.
got it fixed.
Right.
But one day, right before I had Evan, it just broke in the middle of the street, and I had to leave it in the middle of the street.
Literally. Right. I can
And it was
visually
like-
see that.
Right.
I can
you
see
had to
that.
laugh so
and
you
I
was gonna
could
cry.
feel
Like,
it too.
What is it you're gonna do?
Okay, it's time to get a new car. Now,
Right.
so I finally went and bought another car. Nothing spectacular, just to get me back and
Right.
forth to work. And by that time, the stock market crashed. It was 2008. We state employees were being furloughed.
Ooh.
So I had to come up with, and I had this new car, and we had just bought a house.
Perfect storm.
Right. Literally.
So I was like, okay, I have to come up with some solutions. So I started couponing. I am a tax professional, so I have a trade. So I've always worked 2 or 3 jobs.
Right.
So before I had my son, I was working as my side hustle. I had to turn that into getting as many hours as I could. And then when I had Evan, I was like, okay, I can't pay daycare and this car note, even
Right.
though it wasn't much. So I started using everything I could to pay off the car early. Unbeknownst to me, year 3 of having the car, I'm about to have another daycare bill. So I started paying off my car early. Whatever debt I could pay off, I paid off.
So you were just trying to reduce expenses at this point.
Yes, because daycare,
So you didn't have
Was
the moment
expensive.
where they told you you're not getting this increase, all this back and forth you're doing to get into work, and they just have pissed you off so bad. Pack your stuff. I'm going to the car now. I'm leaving. We're going to figure it out.
Yes.
Did you have that moment
that
too?
was the conversation.
Okay.
So they had called me because I worked in higher education and I was on maternity leave before school. I mean, the start of the semester, they kept calling, and my manager quit, remember?
Right.
I was the analyst, so I downloaded files for the school for admissions, for financial aid, which are important in August. Can you please come back to work? You're not supposed to be calling me. I have a 3-year-old crying and a newborn on my hip. I'm on FMLA. You're not supposed to be
Right.
calling me. But I ended up going back a day early, and that's when they dumped the.
The new roll on you.
All
All
the
the
baggage.
additional
Right.
stuff, right.
And I said, okay, I'm willing to take this on, but you're saying you're not paying for me for this role. What about my current role? So my husband and I, we started having the conversations. Okay, this is how much we've expensed, and I won't get another check for a month because, with higher education, we wasn't getting paid at the time every 2 weeks. We was getting paid once a month.
Right.
I do remember that.
Right.
So we've already expensed this. We made it okay.
Wow.
So
And so was your husband receptive to you not returning to work? Was he like, no, that's not going to work for us? Like, how did that conversation go?
he said, well, let's see how we can make it work, or what will happen
Love that.
if we've lived off of one salary basically for a month, because my FMA, my insurance checks were going towards insurance or daycare, because even though I was home with the newborn, we were still sending my younger son to daycare.
Right.
So my FMLA checks and insurance checks were going towards that.
And did you feel like you believed him when he said we can make it work, or did you feel like he was just wanting to be supportive in that moment?
I think he may have been scared, but he didn't.
That's the real talk, right? But husbands know, I've got to say yes,
Right.
because if I don't, she's going to cuss me out. She's
Right.
hormonal, and
How
I'm
is
just
it
going to,
know? Yeah.
but not really knowing what that looks like or how to support you, but knowing that I at least need to say yes.
Let me
and
give
nod
her
my
some
head.
hope.
Yes,
Right.
Give her
yes,
some
we're going to
hope.
figure it
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, but I think that's the husband perspective.